Please be seated. It must have been a dusty walk along that road from Capernaum to Nain. And I would imagine that as they walked along, those following Jesus had many questions for him. We never saw that centurion's slave. How do we know for sure that he was healed? Is this what our ministry is going to be like? Is this how it is going to be? What in the world happened back there? And all of these little side conversations that I could imagine happen as they walk along. Anything to take their focus off of the hot sand, the dust around them, and the heat beating down on them. And so here they come to Nain. You know Nain. You've been there, because Nain is really any small town that you've ever been around. Maybe you grew up in a small town, maybe you've lived in one, but it's small towns like Cheers, where everyone knows your name. And not just that, they know your parents' name, and they know your grandparents' name, and la-da-da-da-da all the way back. And not just that, but they can tell you which ones of them have been in jail should you forget. They can also tell you those things about which you should be ashamed from your own life. Sure, you know Nain. It's that small town, that one that you know. And as they approach the town, something is happening. Just as you know you're ready to go somewhere, here comes a funeral procession driving up the street, and you've got to decide, do I pull over or do I keep going? And here's one coming out of the gates of the city, a bier bearing a man. We don't know a lot about him. Luke doesn't give us a lot of details, but we know a few things. We know that he's been dead less than 24 hours because Jewish law requires that he be buried within 24 hours. We know that he has no siblings. Luke tells us that he is his parents' only child. And we know that he is survived only by his mother. His father is dead. Now, there's something about this event, this encounter, that does something to Jesus. I'm sure he's seen a similar thing many times before. As the townspeople bear someone to their final resting place. But there's something about this, he stops. And not just that, but he stops the procession. He goes over and he doesn't touch the body. That would make him unclean. But he touches the bier that bears the body. And he says, "Young man, rise up." And the fellow sits up right then and there. You may have been to Nain, but I bet you've never seen that happen. And you know, that's the sort of things happen in our lives when Jesus shows up. Luke tells us that over and over. And something happened in this place. A miracle took place right then and there. You and I, we have our images of miracles. We've probably, each of us, prayed or hoped or prayed and hoped for many in our lives. We've wanted someone to, like this young man, to sit up. We wanted them to come back to life, be reanimated, so that we could somehow, in some way, experience their life with us again. We've wanted them to be there to love us again, or maybe someone has left and we simply want them to return. We've hoped for and we've prayed for miracles. And on this very ordinary day outside the gates of Nain, on this very ordinary day in a very ordinary act, a miracle happened. But you know, the reaction to that is fascinating to me. Because Luke tells us that the people were scared. They didn't go, "Oh, great, he's alive. Oh, wonderful, he's back." They were scared. Well, I can understand one side of that. A dead body raises up and sits up and looks alive to me. That's going to be scary. But I don't think that's Luke's point. You see, when you and I pray for a miracle, when you and I ask or hope for a miracle, we want the ordinary to return. We want our ordinary experience to be reinstated. But when a miracle truly happens, that's not what happens. In a miracle, the extraordinary love of God encounters our ordinariness. And things happen. Things happen. I think what happened that day in Nain, or outside the gates of Nain, was exactly that. I think God's extraordinary love was encountered in the compassion of Jesus with this man, and something radically changed. I think if you and I are to be honest, that's what really happens in miracles. And I believe that miracles do happen. But I think that when you and I hope for and expect a miracle in our lives or in our world or in whatever it is that we're hoping for, that we need to remember that what happens in miracles is transforming, and transformational. And that if we're in the midst of that, the miracle is that it happens to us. It happens to us, you and me. And that is the hopeful aspect of this whole thing. When God comes into our lives, His extraordinary love transforms the ordinary into something sacred and something special. So maybe, just maybe, that's what you and I have to hope for and to look forward to. Maybe as you and I walk that road, that dusty road from Capernaum to Nain, maybe as you and I do this, that our deepest hope and the greatest thing that could ever happen to us is the miracle of God's love in our lives that transforms us and makes us new. Gives us life like we've never known it before and offers it to the world. It was a day like any other day. It is a day like any other day. But it is transformed by the love of God in Jesus in our lives. Thanks be to God.